Hi.
we're in South Africa.
Welcome to Scriptures Unveiled.
Yeah, with Ebony and Ivory. And we're on a safari in the wilderness.
Yes.
And so we're doing a series on the wilderness because we can see the wilderness right from where we're sitting.
Outside our venue. Wow, look at that.
Yes, the elephants in the watering hole.
Yay. Wow. So, Jeanette, we're going to be talking about the wilderness.
Right.
You know, one of the things that I grew up about learning about the wilderness was, and they took it from Songs of Solomon, where the Shulamite woman went into the desert and she couldn't find, her lover, her bridegroom. Mm-hmm. And so I was always taught that there's a season in your life, your Christian walk, where you don't hear from the Lord. Mm-hmm. You have to go through trials and testings.
Yes.
God purposely removes his voice from you to mature you so you don't hear anything. And, and so they call that the wilderness.
Right. And I remember the wilderness had to do with obedience. It's like there's a beginning and an end in order to get to the promises. And that we had to go through the wilderness and be obedient to God, or else you remain there and you stay there and you always stay. Right?
Yeah, you always stay. You never progress to this second level.
Right.
And so let's us really dissect what the wilderness is according to the scriptures in the depth. And let's unveil the truth.
Right. And so in the Old Testament, there was the 40 years.
Yep, that the Israelites walked around the wilderness.
The wilderness.
Yes.
And then in the New Testament is 40
days that Jesus
went into the wilderness.
Yes.
And so in the Greek, or actually in the Hebrew for years, because that was in the Old Testament, that word years means to repeat over and over and over. And that's because number 40, mem, also in the Hebrew, is a picture of water, and it's like going downstream. So it's like a river going into the ocean, or a stream going into a river. They become one, and so it's like a way.
Yeah.
And in the Old Testament, the only way they knew was in the flesh, meaning it was outward and natural.
Yes.
So that was what they knew.
Yeah.
And so the New Testament 40 is a day.
Yeah.
And day in the Greek is herma, and herma is a day. It means to be without intermission.
Yeah.
So it's a
that's good.
Yeah, it's a non-hindrance.
It's unhindered.
Right.
There's no interruption.
None.
Yes.
At all.
And that's the day, and that day represents Christ.
Yes, Jesus. He said he was the day in the New Testament.
So 40 years that it took the Israelite, that they walked around the wilderness, because year means repeat, and that over and over is the repeat of unbelief, the repeat of striving to get closer to God. Repeat for 40 years. Jesus literally reversed in 40 days, because he was that day.
Yes.
Where it's uninterrupted, meaning there's no interruption in our fellowship with him, because he was that day, and he reversed that everything that came into that first Adam, where they had to repeat themselves for 40 years. Jesus reversed in 40 days. So he overcame that wilderness.
Wow. Yeah, he totally, we don't have to go through a wilderness.
Exactly, because he did.
Right.
Within a day, within himself.
He did. He fulfilled it.
Yes.
And we can see how he fulfilled it in, Matthew 4?
Yep, 1 through 11.
Right.
Yes.
1 to 11.
Yep, he overcame all of those temptations while he was in the wilderness.
Yeah.
So we no longer have to walk in. And that's what it means to redeem time. People look at time as natural, but the redemption of time was that generation for 40 years that repeated. Mm-hmm. He literally redeemed it within himself in a day.
In a day.
With himself.
Yes.
So Leah, let's go over Matthew.
Next time we're going to go over Matthew 4, the 1 through 11. And we'll talk about the 3 temptations and how that goes back into the Old Testament and how he fulfilled those.
Enjoy South Africa.
Yes. And so remember to hit the like button, subscribe, or make a comment.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.